Okay. Well, now it's being weird on that end, but I think we're live. Let me see if I can find anything on YouTube real quick. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not even a platform issue. It's just it's a complete bandwidth issue on my end, and there's not really anything I can do about it.
Just not enough juice to get through.
Yeah. Well, what happens? Let's see. Okay. So I'm catching a live stream on YouTube. Yeah, what happens is that where I'm located, the only decent way to get on the internet at any given time is a cellular signal, which about 95% of the time works perfectly.
Yeah.
I've had a few streams where, well, not even, maybe one or two where I've roboted a little bit. And then I had some that were iffy, but they cleared up. They cleared up come night time. But yeah, tonight was our first major drop.
Happy to pop the cherry then.
All right, fair enough. Let's see if we can pick this up again. And yeah, like I said, if it goes out again, we'll just call it. And I apologize. We'll try to do it on a better.
Not at all. Well,
but having said that, that's a fair segment. You are a busy man. You have decided not to sit on your rump, not to fall into the temptation of saying the world sucks. So why is that? What is it that keeps you moving, and how can that?
Well, I want everyone who listens now or listens later, who might be a young man in that situation, to know that I was right there with you. Not that long ago, I was sitting on my ass and saying, yeah, this sucks. And it's not a matter of like, I'm not expecting the world to come to me. I think I'm doing the right things. I think I'm putting my best foot forward. I think I'm, combing my hair and trimming my nails and all that. But it just didn't matter because, failing to find love, failing to find success, failing to find, I almost said progress. That's not what, failing to find fulfillment, even though you are, thinking that you're doing the right things. That is a real time of growth. To be able to take those lumps, right? To be able to take those rejections, to weather those storms, and to not give up and to keep pushing through, because that's what's going to change you more than anything else. Is it like sailing on the high seas or just having a clear open drive on the road? That's not what's going to test your skill. It's driving through a storm. And, that little storm for me was realizing, I might have been neglecting what I should have been doing this whole time, which was, from a very early age, I was encouraged, to seek a vocation in the church. And being Catholic, that means becoming a priest and studying for a long time and foregoing the sacrament of marriage, because that's just the way it goes. But, and we won't get into the theology here. So I just went to my priest and said, hey, I think I've been running from this. Can we sit down and talk about it? And he's like, yeah, sure. Let's set a time. And he never got back to me. And that very next week, I met the person who's going to be my wife. And it's only hindsight is 2020 is really cliche and really overused, but it really truly is. There was other times in my life when I saw, I went through this tough rejection period phase of not finding success, because later down the road I was placed exactly in the position that the people who needed me in. I was there for them because I failed in this other realm that was very, very minor in specific. So that's just like, that's just a little bit of, personal history and looking back at your life as a young man and seeing, this is the path that I've been set before. It's my job to walk it. I don't know what's behind every turn, but I just want to commiserate really quick with all the, young men out there who are just crying out to someone to listen to them that, yeah, dude, this does suck. I was there with you, but you have to keep going through, because on the other side of that, on the other side of that dark forest, on the other side of that storm, it's going to clear up. And that's going to be the most rewarding thing that you will ever do in your life. And I bet everyone has little moments of this, right? Like when they were a little kid and they had to be pressed. You know, they'd be pressed into keep practicing piano. They had to be pressed into going to football practice. They had to be told to do this thing, even though they absolutely did not want to do it. It was against everything that they wanted to do, but they were either made or they got up and did it themselves. And I bet the payoff at the end was better than they could have imagined. That's that's the first thing as far as like what got me out of that rump, right? Off my rump, out of that rut. The first thing got me to this point that made me stop saying, oh yeah, this all sucks.
Well, but that's obviously because you were a Chad and you were running 666, right?
Far from it. I was my 666 was 6 gallons of gas, a 6-pack of beer, and like a $6 pizza. that's what my version of that was at one point, not in the not too distant past. But it's about pushing through those hard times. And yes, I am far from the guy. I am far from living the hardest life, and there's guys who have it harder than me. But you cannot give up the fight. You cannot throw in the towel. Defeat is mental, first of all, until your body is broken. Then your duty is relieved to keep up the fight. Now, how does a guy get out of that state when you don't have, really what we all need more of in life, which is close friends who are there for you? And unfortunately, like I don't have a real good shot at helping guys make friends quickly, because that's gonna come like out of a blue moon.
Oh yeah, we're getting some roboting on your end. I don't know if that's my connection or yours.
I'm hearing you clear on my end. Am I still roboting?
Okay. Well, you sound
okay,
perfect.
I'll
now.
try and take it a little bit slower, less.
About 30 seconds there,
okay.
maybe.
Okay. Well, what are the, and this is going to come as we talked about right before we went live. Like this conversation is done to death by a lot of different people, but when it's told by, high power, uber successful girl bosses, who are completely at a loss at seeing the numbers of young women who don't want careers, who want to choose to be mothers, they're at a loss because they're saying, no, you don't have to give up your career, young woman. It's like every aspect of the culture is there to empower women. Almost nothing in the culture is there to give even the same inkling to men.
Right. Well, that was Megyn Kelly a few weeks ago, wasn't it? Or maybe it was
that was exactly Megyn Kelly. And basically, when it comes to these big media figures, making statements on their humongous platforms, that is indicative of a huge uptick in the conversation reaching that level. So the fact that this is on the minds of basically the avatar of, conservative girl boss woman, means, oh, this is where the conversation is going. Women who are potentially, in the same venues as the same, predicaments as young men are facing a choice between a career, between worldly success and actual fulfillment. They are facing a choice, and there is strife there, which is why Megyn Kelly in that episode was doing the whole feigning, the very, very well trained TV anchor woman thing, like, I can't believe that this is happening, the sort of persona, that's very, very well trained. But that only comes out when the topic at hand is there to be dismissed. Like, of course, young women, you can have a career, you can have a family, but young men, you know, young men, what the option was never to choose between a career and a family. You always had both. You were always expected to choose both because that was what young men did. They left the home. They went out and did dangerous things. They fought in wars. They mined. They went down to the mines. They climbed trees. They climbed skyscrapers. They built railroads. They created. They built. They invented. And they suffered greatly for it outside of the home, outside of that special protective place that is cared for and kept warm by the touch of the woman in their lives. And that basic fabric, that basic weaving together of the social fabric, has been disrupted in our day and age by all sorts of combinations of technological, of societal, cultural, political factors, far too large to go into one stream about. People have talked well more about it because what we're really trying to delve deep here is to what are the individual actions? What are the things that guys can do to step out of their comfort zone and improve their lives to help themselves, one, get ahead when they're young, and two, if they're already in that middle 20s, late 20s way, and they're not, that rubber is just not gripping the pavement and they're not getting the launch that they expected, maybe a little bit of encouragement, maybe some course corrections are due in order to help you find that grip. Doesn't matter if you're driving, if you're driving some homemade little equivalent, I'm doing analogies here, but some little equivalent of a 2-stroke, lawnmower engine that you strap to the edge of your dad's old bicycle, or if you're actually in a Mustang. If you don't know how to drive that thing and how to work it to its maximum potential, then that's the first thing you need to take care of. And if people see you performing, no matter what you're driving, they're going to take notice.
Right. I think one of the big things in its is success loves repetition.
Yeah.
And I mean that in two ways. I mean, one, the more likely you are to succeed at it. And then the other part is that your successes, the more successes you have, where you can continue to build on those successes and you want to have this line of successes behind you. But then, yeah, the other part too is we'll be honest and be like, this is built on a mountain of failures of continuing to try, which it's all six poster nonsense. But at the same time, I feel like the more simple all this becomes. I don't want to say any of this is easy, but the more simple in concept that all of this becomes.
Sometimes the simplest things in life are the most difficult. Like, just not to share too much, but yeah, like when I finally did propose to my fiance, I wasn't nervous at all. I knew exactly that this is what I was going to do. I knew the whole day. I talked to the family, everyone knew it. And then as soon as we started, going for our little walk and I had the ring in my pocket, I broke out in a cold sweat. It's like, oh my gosh, what if I haven't got to this place before? What am I gonna, just all of that rush of anxiety, all of the fear of those past failures mounts up on you. But I've climbed enough of that at that point.
Well, now that's a good segue to what in the world meat grinder of marriage in the U.S. in the 21st century. Obviously, now what I will say is I am sure you found a delight in that a high quality woman is dig into that a little bit if you want. But even just the idea of marriage in the 21st century, like, why would you even go there?
So I guess three things, and one of them is certainly that, yeah, okay, I found an angel, and I just found I found the pearl in the field. I found the brightest bloom in the entire meadow. Fight me on that. I dare you. But that's one. But that's also because, as mostly because, as pointed out by many other of our compatriots, in the right wing online sphere, like Dave Green uh, and uh, and Lomez, who had another great podcast on New York Times of all places with Ross Douthat, who talk about the total fertility rate. We only see growth in places of basically high trust, high religiosity, and low diversity, right? And I knew from the outset that I didn't want just anyone in the world. I wanted someone very close to how I grew up. Faithful Catholic, uh, who wanted a big family and didn't want to work at home, didn't want to work outside the home. And listen, I I give encouragement to all the guys who either in real life or on the TL, who are facing these issues, because yeah, it's really hard to find. It's really hard to find a woman with all three of those, who is faithful to the same religion that you are, or has any religion at all, or is willing to go that way. That wants to give up their career, because most I'm of the opinion that most women feel captured by their careers, and the satisfaction that they gain from them is largely, it's largely talked up, and they're not actually that happy. But then also, just like, when who wants kids? So that's all to do with the one I found, right? The lady I found. But then it's also about the example that was set for me growing up, and I basically knew that marriage was my thing because I wanted to replicate the life that I had. Was it perfect? No, but it was full of experiences, and it was full of, and the end product was a large family that has stuck together through all sorts of differences and trials and all this stuff. But what my own parents, through all the obstacles that was thrown their way in their day, they're young boomers. So, of course, boomers delenda est. But what they created in a time when they had their own specific obstacles to creating a highly religious homeschool family, a large, highly religious homeschool family, that left an imprint on me, and the experiences that they sought out for their children. That was what I wanted. Now, finally, like, in this in this climate, in this economy, are you crazy? Well, I mean, kind of, because
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, and that made that third thing that you were looking for, and that you wanted, going to want to stay home, not only a particular type of woman, especially nowadays.
Mhm.
And I think, community that gives her a little bit more, and a little bit more, which, frankly, I think, if I'm putting, what's the biggest issue and all that. Frankly, I'm not as much of the idea that it's feminism as much as it is feminism, by which I mean a lack of support in the house by women within the community. Biggest issue. One, there's not an example, but then no help where it would naturally be.
Yeah, no, I
And so, whether it's the military, whether it's a community, whether it is, I don't know, a D&D, But wherever there's good, strong community for women in childbearing and child rearing together, I think that's far more likely to have a stable community, a higher fertility rate, and also a field where men can work in a traditional manner. And so, how did not that we should all go to the what is it, the kibbutz, or any sort of a cult or anything, but boy, if there was a way to foster these communities, that I think would be highly ideal.
Well, I completely agree, and you know what? The kibbutz model is really not as crazy as it seems. In this day and age, I'm joking with all my peeps that the most vindicated people uh, of the 20th century are actually the Amish, because guess who's like just continuing on, working the land, and anyone
Holy
else
cow,
who's
dude! So we have a lot of Amish friends out here, and a small family out there is
Mhm.
daggum 8 kids.
Yeah, that's like the only reason that the small Catholic homeschool group like isn't doesn't have like Amish level of reputation is because they're scattered all over the place, and
Yes.
we didn't so much go all in on the the land game, that we kind of just expanded into all these other corners. Like for instance, my dad was a research professor, so we never really lived in a house for more than 5 or 6 years at a time. We were always moving, and with a big family, moving a lot of kids is a big effort. So all of us were on board, and all of us had to basically learn how to pack our own things from a pretty young age,
Yeah.
and it was kind of on the move. And we did meet a lot of great people, and we still have those connections today, which have been very beneficial in later in life. But when you're a little kid, you just see, oh, my entire life is uprooted and supposed to transplant this way, in this new ground, which does have benefits. You learn to make friends much more quickly, but also another outcome of that is your family bond, especially when you're in a large, highly religious family like the one I was in. It is
Yep.
also even stronger. And just I completely, the reason um, the reason I also want to get married is to exactly that's the one thing about my life growing up that I would want to improve, is to set down roots and to be emplaced, right? To
Yeah.
be attached to the land in a way that I could be.
Well, and I'll tell you, I'm going to get a little bit spicy here for a second, and you tell me, because I'm going to speak as an outsider, and
Mhm.
what I'm not doing is I'm not speaking against the church and what I'm doing, but you'll understand when I start getting to the overlap. I think part of what went on when you were talking about Catholics and how that was operating in the 20th century, in a lot of ways, being Catholic, if you were Irish or if you were Italian, was the same as being religiously Jewish if you were ethnically Jewish. It's who you were. It didn't necessarily mean that you were following the precepts or the ideas of the particular religion. And we could see that
Mhm.
through Biden and Pelosi, and name an entire cadre of mid to late 19th century politicians, and then certainly 20th century politicians. It unfortunately, it was more of a indication of your blood and your background than it was your actual beliefs. And I think that's unfortunately part of what went on with Catholicism. And so you would see the cradle Catholics, and you would see sort of a lot of floating, but you didn't necessarily see those good heavy communities. And sometimes you did. With the Polacks that I've met, were very much, if they said they were Catholic, they were very much Catholic. If Germans were, well, that was kind of the same idea. If they said they were Lutheran, it could kind of go either way. But some of them were truly Lutheran, and so it's where I'm headed with all this is we're talking about marriage, we're talking about children, we're talking about communities, and I'll be very curious to see, especially as the blood's gotten a little bit mixed up, and and shaken up in the martini glass, whatever, if these Catholic communities start growing, as there seems to be a resurgence of Catholic faith, not only in the Irish and the Italians, but also in the Germans and the Scots Irish, and what are traditionally the lower Protestant people, as they're becoming more traditional. If we're going to see, well,
I,
ultimately, the Duttonese Neo Byzantiums.
I like that. No, first, no challenge on that. American Catholicism is largely a cultural affiliation, less than more than an actual profession of, belief in things like the precepts of the church or the real presence or anything like that. It's a cultural affiliation. At least it devolved into that through the course of the 20th century. And as far as the types of Catholics who, not even, let's put aside like we're going to go in on the Catholic land movement. We're going to buy all this land in Texas, and we're going to, work it, and we're all going to have orchards and pigs and sheep and chickens and all that stuff. And we're just going to restart, and we're going to do the full Benedict option, reject the world. We're going to rebuild a medieval village. Before you even get there, just the Catholics who are going to mass, going to church on a weekly basis. That's listen, religion may be more. The U.S. may be the highest, the most religious developed country on earth, but that still means that less than half of professing people still attend services on a weekly basis. So Catholics are really no different there. So how does, and unfortunately the Catholic label is basically too general, too wide to actually discern, do you believe, in the teachings of the church? But the ones who do are the ones who, who, at least that I listen to, who I grew up around, who said, I listen to the teachings of the church, and the teachings of the church are, this whole modern thing is toxic to the spiritual life, and there is a lot more that we have to reject out of the spiritual life in order to protect our souls and to make sure that our kids get through this life and into the next one, into the right place in the next life, that we're just going to have to double down. We're either going to have to walk the line so carefully, we're going to have to walk the eggshells so tenderly, or we're just going to have to completely bail on this whole thing. And exactly as you said, the Duttonese Neo-Byzantiums. Basically down to the county level. If we could devolve, there's wild ideas of like-minded people, and not even just Catholics as well, just other Protestants who are leaning back into their faith, who are leaning back on the teachings of that are apparent in the Bible. We have disagreements here and there about tradition, but look at what Scripture says. Look at what your instructions are in order to lead a life in Christ. We're completely agreed there that the modern world is totally against us. So, not to derail back to the not to how young men get there. Well,
but I think it is young men, because when you started talking just now about doing county level things, I think that's something that, especially if you grow up in the suburbs, you don't realize you can absolutely. Yes, it's a trope, it's a meme. Oh, go move to the country. And I'm not saying that's for everyone. And certainly Scott Greer, and well, I mean, let's go back to somebody super close to him. I think probably the one who has the best handle on this is Dave Green. He has been a huge influence on my thoughts over the past half decade or so.
Same.
He has a good handle on what it means to interact with the world as a whole. And so when he put out his whole essay on what was it, Blue Eyes Red Heart, yeah, and so the idea of you have to be aware of what's going on in urban areas, you have to be aware of the city, you have to be aware of what the levers of power are on a national sense, and even just on a what do I want to say, on a not civilizational, but in a societal sense, lawyers, doctors, so on and so forth. Yes, you have to be aware of those. But, the flip side to that is that for the vast majority of men, even in a perfect society, they're not going to be qualified or capable of that. And if we're going to recognize hierarchy, which is what we say we do over here on this side, we need to recognize that most guys aren't going to be qualified or interested in that. And so we need to have something that these lower echelon guys can plug into and be valued for. And so one way to do that, if you're not planning on doing the professional thing, is to move to one of those smaller areas, is to operate on a county level, and to make your name on that county level through agriculture, through trades, through, even if you're just going and becoming an electrician at the factory, you're going to be able to support a family on that salary and stay involved in church every week and be a part of the community.
And you're not going to be paying those outrageous costs of living. Like just
right.
Not even an hour away from me, there's perpetual openings at a steel casting foundry. Like, and it's a great little town. And if I was in a different position, I would be sincerely looking at that as a route up. Yeah, I get to, if I was 18 and I was looking for a route up, college is the last thing on my list, because not because the opportunity doesn't exist, but because as far as aligning your actions with the goal that you set for yourself, which as an 18-year-old, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be when you're 23? Do you want all of these great things? Do you want marriage? Do you want, at least if not your own house, then a path to getting your house? Do you want independence? Do you want success? Do you want, do you want, well, powers may be too much of a too broad of a thing, but do you want influence? Do you want these things? Okay, then what are you prepared to give up for it? What are you prepared,
well, yeah. And so it's the old Thomas Sowell idea, there's no, what is it, there's no solutions, only trade-offs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And so what does a kid do then? We're over here, we're saying, hey, you need to be doing this stuff. How do they make it happen? How do they get into school? How do they pay for it? What are, or if we're saying, hey, don't do school, then how do they do it? How do they get married? How do they take care of that family? Should they get married in a traditional sense?
Well, I think everyone should get married in a traditional sense. But if you're, coming from, if you're just not finding, great success in like the normal route, and it's been on the screen this whole time, and yes, the military has gotten a lot of bad press. Are
we going to hit the MQ?
We're going to hit the MQ. Are we going to stare deep into Private Pyle's eyes?
Oh, we might. I mean, if we could go there if you want. We might have to call John in on this one too.
I would love to be able to finally talk to John. But I think you got a smoke alarm back there. Not a chirping one.
It is not a chirping one, and it's not a smoke alarm, but it is an alarm. I'm going to see if I can isolate that. Oh, I think it might be managed.
Okay, very well. Well, okay, yeah. Yes. Then we're going to step right into that.
So go ahead and lead into that. I'm going to see if I can get John on the line for this one.
All right, very well. So ultimately, yes, young men, the world is stacked against you. Yes, there's all these obstacles. Yes, all of these support networks that were supposedly open to everyone have been not only closed off to you, but actively rejected, kept from your hands. The only other thing that's there, that's going to test your mettle, that's going to reward you for hard work, is the military. Now, that's going to set some guys off. And it's not because they're unfit. It's because they don't align with my values. They're a bunch of... It's like, okay, well, calm down. Again, if you have a goal and you are willing to sacrifice a lot of things to get to that goal, then you have to be mercenary. You have to be ruthless in your pursuit of that goal. One of the things that teaches you ruthlessness, that teaches you how to build a plan, that teaches you how to execute it, how to account for all of the factors that go into that plan and to execute it with violence of action, is a tour in the military. And let me just break everyone's illusion. No, not everyone, turns into a private pile. That's because not everyone is a private pile deep down inside. Not everyone gets, shunted through the pipeline that way. You can train.
Yes.
You can train. You can get harder. You can get faster and stronger. You can become a much more deadly person physically, because physically, if you train your body, that will produce other results in the mind and the spirit. Okay? The will is a product of the intellect. This is basic Thomas Aquinas instructions on philosophy.
Yeah,
The
but
will,
you're just becoming a Zogbot. Like who cares if they make you super strong or anything else?
that is a risk.
You're fighting for Zionism.
You are part of an organization that at the top is very confused about what its primary mission is. And I have my own hard times with that, especially, having many friends in the military and, and doing that thing myself. But as far as what we are trying to ask young men, trying to help young men build up in them the skills and the influence innate to enable them to go out and be this complete person, there is still many, many avenues, many easily available avenues to learn skills, hard and soft skills, like everything about, how to run a power plant on a Navy ship, how to do vertical construction for cheap. Like you can go to trade school, or you can go be a combat engineer in the United States Marine Corps. You could go to trade school to be a diesel mechanic, or you can go to Fort Lewis in Washington State. You can go to Elgin Air Force Base in Florida, and you can learn how to fix trucks. You can learn how to fix aircraft. You can still learn all of these hard skills and get a multitude of other experiences on top of it. And you will also have many other benefits on the backside if you do your service honorably, if you follow the rules and you do those 4 years.
Look,
on the front side, it's going to suck. And yes, you will be in service of an organization that's going to treat you not like a human being. They're going to treat you like a number, and they're going to force you into they're going to force you as a square peg into a round hole as best they can.
Yeah, well, and it goes even deeper than that, in that, yeah, you are going to be potentially on the hook for missions that you don't want to be a part of, for fighting for countries that you have no interest in. Yes, that could happen. However, okay, let me roll it back and let me just put my cards on the table a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I was infantry, and I went in, and dude, it was a good time. It was a great time. It was a great time, and it made me 100,000 times more lethal than I was, and I got to do things that I would have never done. And frankly, yeah, it was a great time, and it there's only so much. Like, I want to be careful not to dox myself here. Well, because it ended in okay. So that's where
okay. It was not an optimal outcome. There we go. That's it.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was a great time, and on my side, it's been absolutely worth it. Put me through some schooling, opened up some different doors, yes, the whole like, oh, go join the military. People love hiring veterans. That's stupid. Don't listen
That
to
is
that.
no, that is garbage. And I bit down on that. I bit down on that carrot hard, and guess what was right behind it? once
It's
once my
a
friend
there.
once my friend gave me a frozen carrot and it sucked. So that's what I that's the
Yeah, I was
thing
gonna
that comes
say
to mind.
there was a lead pipe hidden in the middle of that carrot.
Yeah,
So
no, that's a total lie. The thing is
that one
not
sucks.
the yeah, yeah.
But like you said earlier, flip that around a little bit. You can go in and okay, yeah, infantry is not a great idea if you're looking to make. By and large, if you're looking to make certain choices when it comes to your vocation in your career, infantry isn't a great path. However, you can go one of two ways. You could just do your first enlistment as infantry and then be like, well, this sucked and get out. Or you could be a little bit smarter, do a second enlistment or just do a 2-year extension in a different MOS, get some skills under your belt and come out
Mhm,
probably with a job already. And then, yeah, I'm saying people don't like hiring veterans or whatever, but dude, it's the same as anything else. Put your head down, be willing to work. And I know guys that were in the infantry that learned nothing other than how to perfect their shooting skills and build explosives or whatever, and
mhm.
got out, and they're on a rig on the Mississippi within a month, and they're making $80,000 a year filling up barges or whatever.
Mhm. I mean, the opportunity is there for men who want it, and I I just see I I commiserate with it because I was right there a couple of years ago, and so uh I was yeah, just less about my background the better, but I was in that same position as them, which is like, listen, nothing's working out. You got to fix something. And I'm glad that I hit that first trough in college where I still had basically the youth and the metabolism to actually change my
Yeah.
basically I shed a ton of weight in order to actually join. But then the second trough of that was when I got back from overseas, and it was just like, okay, how do I like restart my career that I said that I was told would be waiting for me? People would just
Yeah,
be waiting.
whatever.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
whatever. In 2021, like in this freaking economy, are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
Uh, but
Well, now
so
that does
just to put a
go ahead.
bow
Yeah,
tie
yeah.
on that. Yeah, the main thing is not the resume padding. The thing that I would like secretly never wanted to admit, but secretly actually put at the top of my list was the thing that, oh, I could put on my resume, Marine Corps. I could put on my resume that I joined the Marine Corps, right?
Yep.
So uh, the real benefits there were the experiences, were the soft skills, were the meeting other people and getting to engage with people uh, of different experiences, of different proficiency
Yep.
levels, talking to them, getting their. I talked with a I talked with an old mortar guy, 0369. No, sorry, wait, nope, nope, no, 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 nope, stop. Oh my goodness, okay, I'm so sorry.
Well, I was saying 0369's infantry staff
Infantry staff and
NCO,
CO.
isn't it?
Yep. So I outed myself there as not knowing that I'm not infantry. But uh, so I talked to an old
I
yeah.
already knew.
No.
No worries.
So uh, so I talked to an old mortarman, and he was like, the best moment in my entire deployment to Afghanistan was when I was chosen by my CO to go on a leader's recon. And you know why? Why?
Yes.
Because he knew I could handle the radio. But I wasn't a '06. I wasn't a radio guy. It's like, yeah, but you know your shit.
Yep.
You know your shit, buddy. It's like that was the best moment in my entire deployment. It's like, oh yeah.
Be be the 18, 19, 20-year-old guy given the patrol given the pre-mission brief or even the
Hmm.
AAR. These are things that you can't quantify when it comes to your resume and what you're going to do. But if you could sit there and you can brief these guys, or you can give them the after action report, and you can explain what went on, what choices were made, what choices could have been done better. You're doing it in high stress because you're running QRF and you're going to be jumping back on the. I need to slow down on the acronyms. All right, but here's the thing, guys. If you are in there and you are learning how to operate in high stress situations, what's going to come out? Yeah, you're going to come out of the military and you're going to be pissed off because when you were in the military, you said that surely once I make it to the civilian world, everybody's going to be a lot smarter than we are in here, and it's going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be like, no, you get out and everybody's an idiot, and you realize that the best ran machine in the U.S. is the daggone military. Anyways, yeah, there's, yeah, I understand. I understand the complaints. I think the complaints are valid. I also think, especially for guys that are just sitting around, don't have anything going for them, that if you want to test your metal, and if you want to walk out with some pretty nice bonuses, some of which I do mean monetarily, but then some of it I also just mean, benefits that you get from your state or on the federal level, the GI Bill and whatnot. Boy, the military is if you put your head down and work, it can be a sweet ride.
It can. It can also suck if you're not willing to put up with it. And that's what you have to know going in.
Yes.
Like, yeah, recruiters will straight up lie to your face. They will sing. They will sing beautiful siren songs to you to get you to sign whatever they have to sign. Because listen, like recruiters have a dog shit life. They have to meet mission, and if they don't, that's just gets rolled back over. And I've talked to recruiters, and never was one, but it's just like, if you do a little bit of research and you know what you want to do, like, oh yeah, no, I'll sign a contract for to be a truck driver. I'll sign a contract to be a maintainer. I'll sign a contract to be a radio operator any day.
Well, it's like, look, we'll make it easy for you guys right now. If you're going to join, you're either going to join the National Guard or the Air Force. That's going to give you the sweetest ride. That's going to give you the softest landing. The only reason you're going to join the Marine Corps is because you're retarded, and the only reason you're going to join the Army is because you couldn't get into the Marine Corps.
That's exactly it. And nobody joins the Navy, even though they are kind of and even though that's kind of the secret deal.
we all just forget the Navy,
which is the worst thing, because actually, being on ship, yeah, that would suck, but there's no better way to go see Singapore. There's no better way to go see the world.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to see. You got to sign up to be you got to sign up to get on a ship, man. You got to get out there if that's what you want to do. And any one of these things, yeah, the Air Force, the National Guard, the reserves, and any of those three, any of the other three branches, well, that's going to be the least impact directly on your life. Granted, the reserves is going to be basically a part-time job. You're going to have to maintain all of this government property. You're going to have to show up someplace 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. It's a different brand of BS. But whatever it is, if you want to end up to, and look, we're trying to help out our recruiter brethren here, so you can maybe take 5 seconds of not running the cheese grater on their forehead. But this opportunity is there. And it's waiting for men of action to take it up. Yes, at the top levels, leadership is, I am damn near saying, compromised. I won't, but I'm damn near saying it, because no matter who's in the administration, I'm becoming fond of the saying, the ship turns slowly, right? There's no overnight changes when you're talking about changing the culture, of a classroom, let alone a 2 million man standing, military force across the entire world. You don't change the culture of how that thinks and how those general officer leaders bubble up to the top, and what the sort of things that they had to say and think and do that got them there. That's going to require young men. That's going to require young men to come in from the bottom, to push themselves and to create those new. Dude, we have generals who signed up before the freaking like before the Soviet Union collapsed. We don't know. Nobody had
Yes.
any idea of this drone warfare 8 years ago. Like not this type of like dropping hellfires from the sky. This type of like driving we are driving DJI drones into like and under tanks and all that kind of stuff. This was wild.
Yeah.
So we need guys to step up. And if
Well,
go ahead.
an interesting thing too on that one is my understanding being somewhat aware of the CS of the computer science of the programming arena is that the job market is not what it was. However, if you guys come out and let's say you got a false start in life, so to speak, you're sitting there on a mound of college debt and so on and so forth. I want to be careful here because I can't remember all the recruiting incentives, but there's the potential that the National Guard is going to pay off your college. And then there's also the opportunity, I think, in the other branches that if they don't pay it off completely, there are different loan loan splits, things of that nature. You might have a better idea than I. But where I'm trying to go with this is, like you're talking about the drones and whatnot. If you're a programmer and you're looking for work, if you are in a highly technical, if you are, what am I trying to say? Not highly skilled, but you have highly technical training and you're sitting on your butt because you legitimately can't find work, there's a good chance you're going to be able to find something in the military. And so this wasn't supposed to be a rah rah recruiting video. However, I think it's asinine for us to not be looking at this opportunity. I really do. And so we can dig into it and say it's all like, oh, you're fighting for God's chosen lunatics and whatever. And it's
I
like,
ain't
yeah,
dying for
I hear
Israel.
you.
Well, okay, fine. Yeah, in 4 years, you very well may never even leave your home state if you're in a big enough if you're in a big enough if you're in a big enough state that you have a large military base near you. You may never leave that one. You may go to like basic training, and then
Yep.
you'll just go right back there, and then 4 years you're done, and then you're back down the road with a pocket full of cash that you couldn't like you would give away for all of the experiences that you had and all the skills and the people that you met and the connections that you made. This is such an
Yeah.
incredible opportunity for young men. And yeah, I'm sounding like a general officer right now because yeah, one of the things that convinced me was watching an old, General Mattis video. Oh, bro, this is a great adventure, kids. Like, get out there and kill some people. It's like, well, okay. The main thing that I wanted to push is like, listen, life again, right back to these sixth grade motivational posters, man. Life is worth living, and it's so much better than you can imagine if you just keep going and you keep wanting to live
Amen.
in the truth, right? You keep wanting to live
Yeah.
by the truth, and you keep denying yourself all those easy little diversions. And you know where you want to go, right? You want what men have throughout the ages have always wanted. You wanted a plot for yourself to call a kingdom, and you wanted to fill it with people. That's what a family and that's what a home is. The military is just one option to get you there, and it can get you there a lot faster if you do it right than other avenues.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's earlier, like all of what we're saying tonight, there's absolutely inherent risk involved. So there's risk in the military, there's there's risk in kids, so on and so forth. But I think for whatever reason, we became risk averse, and we as a
Right.
culture, or at the very least as a generation, and that's not. You can have the sure thing, but you're not going to have adventure, or you can have adventure, but you're not going to have the sure thing. And yeah, usually binaries don't work, but I'm about as airtight as you can get. So
It is a package deal. It's you get your orders, and you go where you're told, and You choose to bloom where you planted, and that's one of the great rushes. That's one of the great rushes. Oh yeah, can I actually go do this? And
Yep.
it may only be for 4 years, and now you're back out on the streets with your head, your head held high, hopefully, and a clear, if absolutely nothing else, a clearer vision of what you want to do in life.
Yeah, at the very least. Well, I don't want to do that again.
Well, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. All right, good. So we've told young men they could go and sacrifice themselves for the gay. They can throw themselves in a meat grinder, which is marriage. What's another good way
We
we could
told
tell
all
them?
women are evil and want to steal your money and take your house. Um, we've told
Yeah.
them that
Well,
the
so
whole world
that's
is
I don't.
against you.
Yeah, and I don't want to run defense for women, but there is sort of this thing. It's like, well, okay, if life is that hard for guys, I suspect I sus the ladies probably have some of their own things they're going through right now.
I'm Yep.
That doesn't jump into accountability. These the issues of the ages. So I'm not digging it. Is that there's also unique pressures on women right now and on young women that be aware of.
And
So
of course, I don't. Of course, not trying to say that all women are evil. All women are actually really nice. It's there is a level of there's a level of accountability that the fairer sex is not pressed on in modern culture because um, they're just granted. I think
yeah,
that
we
a lot
that
of the culture is just granted a lot more leeway for uh, their side. Okay, well, okay, I'm just going to abandon that train of thought. Women have their problems too. Yes. Men have their
yes.
problems too. Yes. And both need to learn how to overcome those if we just want to have what was normal for thousands of years, which was a social
Yeah.
fabric again.
Yeah. That's my big thing. So can't even talk right. There's sort of two sides to it. There's the Faustian side, which is like, come on, dude, let's go have an adventure. Like,
Mhm.
let's have a little bit of, and then the other side is, I lost my train of.
Faustian versus play it safe.
No, because it wasn't a
Oh,
sort of in that there's two sides in there. I don't know. I guess I could
kind of like
say
the
something
civilizing
stupid.
force sort of thing.
Well, sure. So that's an issue that you want to be aware of and you want to. But then I was also
Mhm.
maybe it was just the whole sixth grade idea again, right? Like nothing is nothing gained. But be
Yeah.
stupid about it. But if you want something, you have to run out and go for it, and you might not get it.
Yeah, and that's a risk of failure that you have to take. And you're listen, some guy could probably take all the advice that we spill out here because we're both guys who benefited from military service, and it totally falls flat on their face. And listen, I'm sorry for you, but that's the best thing you can get from that is that you learned and you are now a better person the
Yeah.
hard way, and you're not going to make those same mistakes because guess what, it's going to be a way less expensive mistake to learn those through the military versus learning that in college because now you're not saddled with debt.
Yeah, actually, no, it's the it can suck, but unless you're a total clown
Mm-hmm.
You're still going to get you're still going to get your leave. You're still going to get all your so on and so forth. So you're going to have money in the
Yep.
bank.
Still gonna get your
I
glizzies.
mean, yeah, it sucks. Yeah. Yeah. My goodness. See us going that well. Okay. So I'll be honest and say I was kind of hoping we were going to touch that a little bit. Did not see us going all. That was good. That was good.
That was a great talk. And no, I was not expecting us to go full on, do recruiters' jobs for them. But it's worth thinking about, guys.
Okay. Well, very good. Very good. All right. So young men can jump into marriage. They can jump into the military. We've already said they can go in, and this is even sans marriage potentially. You can money level. At least I have the hope that most of the guys that we run into, these aren't guys that are back not doing anything. It's like, oh man, I can't do anything. Gem? I don't know. What's our classic? It's always the gem. Yourself a dog. Take care of a dog. Like actually, or take care of a daggum cactus. I don't care something that's alive. With something. Well, don't get a dog if you're joining the military.
Yeah, no, because then you're just gonna have to either take him back to the shelter or get a friend to take care of him. And
yeah,
it's no longer
give
your
him
dog.
to your parents.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that would be mean. But you're going to have to start flexing those responsibility muscles.
Yeah. When you start taking,
and I think that's sort of, yeah, go for it.
Well, when you start taking responsibility for, even the cactus example, when you start taking responsibility in those little areas in life, it starts compounding. But you just have to you just have to start somewhere. Yeah, maybe guys, a lot of our guys, like the gym is the place. It was for me. But it can be truly anything. It all starts. Yeah. You can just do things.
Yeah. So that one is huge. I'm going to try and find it. And so while I'm running my mouth, I'm still going to try and find it. But I'll tell you the other thing I'm thinking as we're sitting here talking about this is, just start going to church, man. Like if you want to take responsibility for something, look, you don't have to exercise any muscles, but your fingers and your mind. Get into the Bible, and I'll even walk that back. Like, get into Plato, get into a general survey of religion or something, and at least take ownership of what it is you think you're supposed to be doing in life because of whatever objective metaphysical plane that you're drawn to at the moment. Now, of course, my hope and my belief is that you're going to wind up dealing with the one true God, the Father of Jesus Christ. But, start somewhere and keep moving.
And also don't fall in. Well, don't fall into the trap of, self-appointed Caesarism. No, you're not going to be the king of everything. But you just might become the king of something. And every king, needs a queen. And if that's not going to be the queen that you choose, then a queen will be chosen for you. And you first though, you have to decide that you're going to be a king of something.
Yeah. Well, you got to take ownership, and it's golly, man. We keep floating between middle school and here's a Jocko one for you. You got to practice some of that extreme ownership, man.
It's all going to rest on your shoulders. More responsibility. Good.
Well, he's okay. So now we're going to get into the weeds for the guys that aren't military. You ever listen to that Anti-Hero podcast?
No, I think that's escaped my attention.
Okay, I enjoy them. I think they might have been the ones that broke the Tim Kennedy stuff and whatever. Oh, I have offline stories about Tim Kennedy in a tertiary way.
Okay, these guys. Yeah. Okay, I've seen them. They did break the story. Yes, I know of these
Okay.
men. I don't actively listen,
Yeah.
but I will now. Yes.
They are it's just funny. Listen, it's guys just getting on, and for the most part, like that's how they got their notoriety, and a bunch of fans was digging in on Tim Kennedy and some other guys. But most of the time, it's just guys hopping on and laughing and telling war stories. And unlike a lot of them, I kind of actually believe most of the guys that hop on there. So that's cool. Anyways, I was listening to them, and I forget who the guy that was on there was talking, but he was talking about, leadership and ownership, huh? Let me tell you about Jocko. And he was saying some interesting things. So we'll see how that washes out. But
I believe it. I mean, from the get go,
uh,
those Black Rifle guys. I know Black Rifle Coffee is just a meme
oh my
now. I
lands.
know it's been a meme
Yeah,
for a long
right.
time, but from the very get go, it was like, wait a minute, you're a bunch of you're a bunch of jocks. You're a bunch of assholes. How did you get like the wherewithal to get market your coffee, market your mid coffee at best into
Right.
every single department store chain and every single base? Oh, obviously because you guys have connections through your special operations. It's not because you actually won the market. It's because you had the connections. And so just branching off of that, now it's like, it's a meme to hate on Black Rifle Coffee, but it's like, like I don't know if you remember Save Our Allies, that documentary.
No, I'm not familiar with that one at
That
all.
was the Tim Kennedy, Nick Parmigiano. Well, sorry, his name is not Nick Parmigiano, but
Yeah.
it's his business partner Ranger Up, and they were the guys who were helping the State Department on the ground in Abbey Gate in Kabul, Afghanistan during the evacuations, going out
Okay.
outside the wire and finding, people with known personnel to the U.S. State Department who had been, assistants, who had been translators, who had been interpreters for U.S. U.S. forces in the war on terror, and they were going out and gathering up all these guys. And the documentary is all about them and how they were stymied by people on the ground. And it's like, you guys think it's important to put all of this effort into making this documentary? Yes, it's media, I know, but like, what is the job that's being done here? You're
Yep.
getting the word out. It's like ultimately everything comes back to connections with people in government, with people in the intel community, and that's ultimately what all this stuff comes back down to. And I'm not surprised that Tim Kennedy is an embellisher, or that Jocko has a less than pristine record.
I'm going to tell you some stuff offline.
Sure.
Um, going back though a little ways to, or actually, so let me address this and then I'm going to go to something else. Uh, yes, building contacts is the best way, particularly, let me speak from the outside looking in. It seemed to me that on the officer side in particular, you have to build contacts and you have to do your networking. Now, that's both good and bad. But what it does mean is that you do have the potential to know the right guy. And we could sit here and we could bitch and moan about it, like, oh, you just knew the right guy. Okay, well, that's the way the system's played. And so let's take it out of a military context. If you're going to go to school, if you're going to be seeking that elite position and you want to be the big dick on campus, and these elite, I almost call them MOSs, these elite majors, whether it's law school or whatever, then you're going to have to deal, one, with building contacts, and two, with that debt load. And maybe, just maybe, take a hint from the daggum VP. And no, I'm not saying go join the Marine Corps. I'm saying go to a community college, then go to a state college, then go to a daggum Ivy League, because at that point, all you're doing is networking.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Exactly.
we hear this idea about networking and making contacts, and we're like, well, what does that even mean? Yeah, I made contacts with three 3 guys from what? Are they from the regional operating center? Are they from a local law firm? Well, I don't know. They're paralegals. It's like, okay, well, that's not helping yourself. And so you just have to be smart about what you're doing. And you have to actually be attacking it constantly. And yeah, it sucks. It's tired. It's exhausting.
Yeah,
But
it's
it
not
is
going
what
to
it is.
always be cool, sexy stuff that you want to do. And it's not always going to be in your wheelhouse, but
Nope.
you have to have a plan and you have to, and if you want it, if you think that plan is worth it, then you have to work towards it. And yeah, that means,
Yeah.
that means embracing the suck.
Well, and here's a networking slash you could just do things. So up on the screen, I've got this, a well-equipped extension office can save you a whole bunch of time, pain, and money. An extension office is the state school the state university, whatever, and they've got different agricultural offices, and they've got one in every county.
Mhm.
Well, generally speaking, of course, east of the Mississippi, all of those states, for the most part, are going to have an extension office in every county. You get up into Wyoming and Montana, I have no idea. They might be few and far between. Anyways, these extension offices are usually right next to a USDA office. So that's where you're going for particular federal loans. That's where you're going for different federal initiatives. And I'm not talking just subsidies or whatever. I'm saying if you're a guy that's coming out and you've got less than 100 acres and no time in crops or farming or whatever, there's different opportunities that you have access to. But before you even get to that, the extension office might have something as simple as shears to shear your sheep that you can just borrow. You don't even have to pay for them. You're not even renting them per se. You're just borrowing. So on this picture on here, that's not even my trailer. I went to an extension office about 3 counties over because we're involved in different things. We're doing the networking thing. We're talking to people. We had sat at a dinner with a guy who said, "Oh yeah, I work with such and such university and we have these initiatives." Moved down a month later and it's like, boy, I wonder if he has access to this stuff. Oh yeah, I've got access to that. You want to come and pick it up? It's like, really? Yeah, you just come and pick it up. And that's all it was. It was knowing the right person and making a call and going and hitching up their trailer with their items onto my truck so I can bring it back here and cut my planning time by nearly 3/4 this year.
That's tremendous. Like that is the number of people who are just there waiting for someone to call who needs help is incredible. And far from the first person to say it, but like a lot of these guys are just boomers. A lot of these guys are boomers with decades of knowledge and the equipment and know how to use it and are just waiting for someone to come around and just say, "Hey, I'm looking for this exact stuff." This is incredible.
Yes. And so that is one of the things with the boomers. And it's like, okay, and this is what it always comes down to, right? We can bitch and moan about them, and we could say, well, they're going to say this, and they're going to want to plant this way, and they're going to expect you to use fertilizer. Okay, like find a way to let that go in one ear and out the other, and operate in a manner that they're going to be able to understand, but that is going to continue to move you forward.
Yep.
When I came out here and I'm talking to farmers who have been running crops with synthetic conventional fertilizers for 30 years because that's how their daddy did it, and I'm supposed to come out here and say, no man, you're supposed to be doing rotational grazing. No, I did tell some people that that's what I was doing, and they laughed and they said, all right, well, we'll see you in such and such amount of years, and I'm still here. And they're like, well, you're doing something. But it's not, you don't come in there and tell somebody who's been raised in the system how they're doing it wrong. And it's
you
the same
learn
with
from
boomers.
them. You learn their stories.
Yes.
You sit by them, you sit next to their knee, and you shut up and listen first because they're the people who've been on the ground. This is a Stormy Waters point. He wasn't like, he got where he was because he listened to a lot of stories. He listened to a lot of boomers tell their stories, and maybe he wasn't as always as interested to listen as he led on. But
Yeah, right.
the the knowledge, even if it's what like not to do, even if it's something about a story about a hard lesson learned versus a failure versus a success, that's another great avenue. There's we mentioned Dave Green earlier as well. He's hosting these basket weaving spaces right here on lovely little Twitter, and there's folks who come in there and just say, "Hey, I'm I'm one of the reviled, old dogs who can't find work, and I'm here to say I can't find work. I can't find young guys who want to come in and like help me like run this grain elevator, help me run this dry cleaning company, help me like make this thing keep working and improving and working. And I just can't
Yes.
find young men of capacity, of capability who want this. And yes, that part of that is because, well, did you like, do you know how to go ask for them? Do you know where to find these guys? But also it's
Yep.
about like the young men are don't give up the fight, guys. There's still opportunity out there. There's still one of these types of businesses, one of these types of old dogs who's been in it, who's been in the trenches and has put in his time. He's about to go out the door, and you should go find him, and you should learn every single thing that you can from this guy, because that's going to be your best head start if you want to if you want to maybe you don't lead with, hey, I want to take over your business, I want to sit
Yeah.
you down.
Don't do that.
No, don't do that. Go in and apply for a job. Maybe it's just a part-time, maybe just show up and say, hey, I want to learn more about this business. Is there anything I can just sit around and help out with? Like maybe it's as simple as that. I bet you that this old man who's maybe past retirement age, his eyes are going to light up as soon as he hears there's someone who's interested in what he has to say.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump in and say, if you guys are catching any of this right now, if any of this is like, oh man, I don't even know where to start, or you want to hear this and you want to keep seeing guys having successes and digging into their local community, you already see us. If you're on X, follow this guy, Labrador Skeptic.
One of the
You
good
see
ones.
his at there, says simulation, and then another one. Let me pull him up real quick. This fella, both of these guys are digging into manufacturing, digging into blue collar jobs and successes. Rust Belt Kid is another one, and
Oh,
so
Rust Belt Kid
follow.
is great.
Yep.
I got in his I got in his crawl a little bit over the this exact issue a little bit because but he's Rust Belt Kid is awesome.
Yep. Yep. He is a good one. And then, like I said, Labrador Skeptic. These are guys that are digging in and saying, "Look, let's just work." Black Horse hits on this sometimes, and one of the things, if you guys walk away from this with anything, it's be encouraged. You are capable of doing something. What are you capable? I have no idea. That's on you to find. Take the adventure, take the risks, and figure out what you're capable of doing, where your strengths are, what you want your vocation to be. But don't just sit there and say, "Oh, the world sucks. The boomers suck. Women
Everything is
suck."
against me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, you can't do that. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't let yourself die on the vine. But jump in and get started. Then I had, where else was I? Oh, but that's what it was. I was thinking. So Black Horse hits on that sometimes. It's like, even in his limited time in hiring and firing and building business, he says, yeah, it's noticeable that it's hard for me to find those guys that are worthwhile. And so that, if anything, should inspire you, because that means it's that much easier for you to get in there and
Right.
become
There's no
that good,
greater
solid employee.
Yes, there's no greater indicator of opportunities that it's hard to find people here, right? Like
Yeah.
three, however long ago it was where, oh, everyone has to get back into STEM. And now, and yes, that we
Oh
still don't have
goodness.
enough. We still
Yeah.
don't have enough quality, uh, engineers and people who can just feed the beast. But we don't have enough of any of these guys of men of quality, and that's because
Right.
some of these guys. Look, if you're going to decide between, oh, here's a high value job that is like an absolutely important position that we need in this foundry, in this factory, in this fabrication unit or whatever. We'll
Yep.
pay for your training. It'll be 6 months on the job. And you know what? You prove yourself worthy. We're going to bump you up. We're going to bump you up to $20 right away. And this is a tight knit group. Or yeah, like you can work at Taco Bell, second shift, $17 an hour. You don't have to move anywhere. It's like,
Right.
it's the easy path out. All right. I'm
Well,
not
and
denigrating, my dearly beloved, Taco Bell breakfast workers. You're great guys, but if this is for the young men out there who are pursuing such a path that they have to they have to reach for these big goals. And yeah, it's sometimes going to take
yeah.
moving. I'm sorry, but I don't think anyone is going to move 3 states away for even an assistant manager job at a fast food restaurant. Okay, this is
Right.
what the entire Panda Express debate was about. These are not high status jobs. These are not jobs that you know you can build an economy on, but you can build an economy on. Hey, I'm going to go learn how to fix. I'm going to go learn how to fix farm equipment, and I'm going to spend like 250 days on the road because we're going to take the welder out there. We're going to take the air wrenches out there and we're going to learn how to fix things in the field. And that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, and yeah, you're gonna start at the bottom, right? You're gonna pay your dues. But I'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you what, the guys out here in the county I live in, and frankly, look, let's oh they're hiring all the they're hiring all the let me figure out how to word this. They're hiring all the international candidates for for computer work. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Oh, they're hiring them for the factories. For some of the factories, but frankly, those are usually the factories you don't want to be in. Those aren't necessarily the machining factories. Those aren't necessarily the places where they're actually doing a lot of shipping. That's a lot of times you're dealing with chicken parts and whatever else. You don't want to be there if you don't have to. I mean,
Yeah.
any work is good work if you don't have anything. But what I'm trying to say, dude, become an electrician, become a plumber. Yes, and if you're, so I'm kind of against the idea of it's hard. I'm kind of against the idea of guys going to a new town expecting to find a woman that they could settle down with. There is so much, especially if you grew up in the suburbs and then you're just going to move out to the country and you're going to find you're walking through the wheat fields trad queen. I think that's a recipe for failure.
But I was told that there was a longing made, behind every gas station counter, just waiting
Yeah,
for a
that's right.
right
That
wing
was a
guy to come and sweep her away.
that was a weird post too. That was
I thought that was that.
uh,
Yeah. Okay.
it's a little more complicated than that. I mean, you're gonna have to if you expect that to happen, you're gonna have to be there for the long haul. You're gonna have to be attending mass for 5 years before her dad will even let her look at you.
You're gonna have to get influence. That's it. And the hard way to get influence is to be a part of the community. And if you go to a
Mm-hmm.
community where nobody knows your name, that's gonna
It's
be
gonna take
really,
some
really
time.
difficult. Yeah.
Yep. But in those same communities, you can absolutely gain status as a plumber,
Hmm.
as an electrician, as a fence builder. If you go up on time, if you call back the people that call you, work, that's all it takes. And you will over time continue to get more and more clients. I've been here in this community now for several years. And I ran through 4 different electricians last year before I found one that was actually decent. And there are times I love running this farm and raising sheep, and but there's times where it's like, why just come out here and become a plumber, become an electrician? You show up, return the calls, and put in a good day's work, and you're going to do fine. And once you start making that $70,000 a year gross, you don't even have to worry. Somewhat facetious right here. High status jobs in these areas.
Everyone knows, like, everyone has their plumber on speed dial.
Oh, I have my electrician now. I ran through him last year, and I've got a guy that I have
on the
that
ball.
number.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
And you can be one of those guys. It takes
100%.
Work. It also takes, like, just facing up to the competition. Like, there's guys who are going to be better than you, who you look up to, who are going to take the jobs, and you're just going to have to do, like, the slightly crummier, slightly more complicated jobs.
Yep.
More difficult, more intricate, because
For
that's
now.
what's available to you. No matter what it is, no matter what profession you choose.
Yeah. And so there's that, and then that suburb that your parents are from. Boy, those guys that are doing the plumbing and stuff out there, they earned that spot over decades, like you were just talking about. But they're also dealing with a different type of customer that and client base that, as much money as they're pulling in, it might not just be worth it. Talk to a farrier. Talk to a farrier that gets. Let me walk it back. A farrier is a blacksmith who works exclusively on horses.
Yeah.
So he's the guy that shoes horses and then ends up trimming hooves and all. If you talk to a farrier out of Boston or Lexington or Sacramento, they're going to be dealing with an entirely different client base than the guy who's a farrier in BFE, Ohio or BFE, Texas. And so, yeah, in some ways it might be easier for the guys in Sacramento, but you don't want that. You don't want to be dealing with dressage women all day. And, it's figure out what you want and chase after it. But
yeah, I mean, if nothing else, not to sound like all those guys who were sounding like, everyone was ragging on for just saying, "Oh, get up off your ass, kid. It's not about you. It's you just have to, like, pick it up by your bootstraps, kiddo." It's like, yeah, this is not a bootstraps. This has not been a bootstrap stream. Okay, you have to have a plan, and you have to go, and you just have to take action on that plan. Right? That's the first thing that you need to do. You need to know what you want. And because if you're just going to, like, phone it in, no matter what you do, no matter how talented or smart or what your resume or GPA looks like, if you don't have a plan and you're not trying to drive towards something, it may be the first day, it may be the first year, but eventually you're going to just walk away from it because it's not what you want to be doing. So you need to figure that out first. And then all of these options available to you, it's yours. Every old guy wants to do what? He wants to go back to when he was young with the knowledge that he gained, and he wants to do these things over again.
Yeah, right.
So you are young. You can do these things. You can go out there and you can go do that. And yeah, it's going to fail. It's going to suck. It's going to be a bag of crap for a long time, but it's going to be worth it if you have the plan in place.
Yeah, 100%. And you hinted at, we're not saying that there aren't struggles with H1B, and that what do I want to say? Not sick. That there's not systematic. 100% there are.
Yeah, this is
There's an
not.
issue.
Yeah,
Get it.
this is not rejecting. Yeah, there are obstacles. There are. Then they're
There
unfair
are.
and they're unjust, and they're put by people there who hate you and want to see you fail.
Yes. That's one of the big parts too. And so you are going to be passed over by people that aren't as qualified as you. Passed over by people who haven't lived in your community half the amount of time you have. Like, I get that. Those are addressed. What we're saying is figure out how to be savvy and creative and make sort of an impact so that when it comes time for you to affect those issues, whether it's hiring, whether it's firing, whether it's giving opportunity to the next young kid, you're able to do that. So.
And like, I know we give hard skills, but also it might be, hey, you're actually pretty good with numbers, and you're pretty good at the soft touches. So you might be actually really good in like crop insurance, or you might be really good as a car salesman, or you might be really good as at all of this other stuff. Yeah, we revert to plumbers and electricians because that's hard skills, that's tactile things, that's creating, that's creating a system that is visible, that is
there
tactile,
can also be,
but it's not the only way to create value.
It's not. And there can also be a lot of upside to that. I mean, certainly there's potential downside. That's going back to the adventure we were talking about earlier, like sure, risk stuff. But I will also say, if you're in the right area and that extension office I was talking about earlier, or the USDA office, or Parks and Rec, or whatever, as long as you have a stable job, in some communities, that's all it takes. You are now a man of status because you have a stable job. You're not just working to pay for this week's groceries. So get at it. You can get it.
Like, but there's yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of running out of steam, but I feel like I'm just repeating myself, and I don't want to hear the, it is kind of boomer lines, guys, but you really just have to get out there and do it. And again, it's not bootstraps. It's not just, oh, suck it up and keep doing the same thing. No, you have in the palm of your hand. Listen, we all spend too much time. Well, I do. I spend too much time on social media, not actually bettering myself, but you have the entire sum total of human knowledge at your disposal. You can learn how to do anything. It is all up to you. That's both terrifying and that's exhilarating. We all made our choices how to get where we are in life. And some of them were good, some of them were bad. And you just wake up the next day and you decide to get that 1% better. Nothing's going to be perfect, but if you just choose to be 1% better every day, it's going to be all right. It's going to take time, but it's going to be all right.
Let's you about ready to put a bow on this?
I think so.
Okay. Well, let's do this. We're over here, we're running our mouths and saying do this. We got a lot of guys that read, which is great. So let's go ahead and give them a book recommendation. You give them one, I'll give them one besides the Bible, because you guys should be doing that already. And then I'll have you shill for a bit, and we'll check out.
Well, I'll shill first. I am just your friendly neighborhood reply guy. Run my mouth too much on Twitter at @AN_misanthrope. Long, whatever. It's just AN_misanthrope, and then I also write on Substack.
It'll all be in the details.
Yeah, at Aspiring Misanthrope. The Substack is called In Patria Publishing. Not married to the name, but that's what I'm going with right now. That's just ramblings and musings, and I'm not very good at commentary, so I think I'm just gonna focus on the fictional stuff for the moment. But I reserve the right to completely go back on that and voice, just sound off my opinion on whatever's happening. But as far as a book recommendation, honestly, I want to get back to I want to get back to fiction, and I want to get back to the re-enchanting of the modern world. I want to just like get away from. I gobbled up Tom Clancy books. I'll never not recommend those, but I don't think that's what. Not to denigrate our whole discussion on military on military options. Tom Clancy books are great, but if there's something that you need as far as rediscovering that spirit of adventure, it's timeless. It's wonderful. It's it's easy to pick up. It's simple, but it's not simplistic. I would recommend the Redwall books by Brian Jakes.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
he's
Very good.
woodland critters, running off, doing all sorts of knights and armor type stuff. Uh, but it's simple. It's delightful. It's children's stuff, but it is still such a powerful message of being a man of action and being the person that people in dire need can rely on. That's what I would recommend. And that's why I would recommend the Redwall series.
Okay. That was a very damn it, that was a good choice. Okay. So because of that, you put another one in my head. Do a second one. Do you have a second one? Because now I've
Oh,
got two.
uh, yeah, buy John Slaughter's books, Crimson Veil,
Oh,
and
damn it. Would you, you no, you're doing good ones. You're doing good
oh
ones.
my gosh, yes, buy and read John Slaughter's books, The Crimson Veil, and his collections of essays.
Yeah, it's from the
Absolutely scintillating stuff. The
dispatches from the Old South
dispatches from the
Repository.
Old South Repository. Yep.
Yeah, I have it in my hand right now. But
Yeah, it's in the other
very
room.
good.
I won't go over to get it, but I have both of them. They're excellent.
Yes. All right, very good. So I'm going to take a fiction route and a nonfiction route, and then you guys will find all the details to get a hold of Misanthrope. They're all in the description. Follow him on X, hit him up. He's got the Substack. You will find me again at some point during this upcoming week. I don't know. I got 2 videos out this week. I felt great. I don't know. So anyway, I've got what I do. I did oh crap. I did one on the elemental god and just trying to work that idea out. If we like break God down into, can we get to an elemental god and what does that look like? So I did that one, and then the one before that. Oh, the one before that was symbolism, because there's symbolism is great. I love symbolism. Symbolism has to be tied to the material, otherwise it's nonsense.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just random, abstract, whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. And so Pedro had taken Candace Owen to task on that uh, with some stuff she was doing, and so I dug into that a little bit, and that was very good. Well, and then do you follow El Templar?
I do. I do follow.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, he had been. Oh, how do I word this? He wasn't joking about the pontiff's death, but he was illustrating how you could use the Pope's age, and you could use the year in which he died and stuff to demonstrate um, silly conspiracies.
I'm gonna have to double check
So,
that. I did not pick up that one, but
yeah. So I talked about that. That was in the symbolism video I did too, but you can find it. I don't know. That was maybe like a week back. He did that. It was relatively soon after the Pope had passed. Okay,
okay.
so my two recommendations. I'm gonna go with Wonder here. This one is at a much easier reading level than even the Redwall books. But no joke, I'm on this trip right now with Winnie the Pooh.
Oh,
I will say that, and I will say it proudly, and I will still say that
you
I
get
have
no
a
shame
man
from
card.
me.
It
Yes.
you
No,
know
no.
there's
You don't have a man card if you don't read Winnie the Pooh. It is
there is such a sense of adventure and
and joy and just
yes. And when you think about Milne and his, he's right in there with Tolkien and Lewis and these guys who just saw hell on earth,
Mm-hmm.
and how they came back from that and said, all right, let's put one foot in front of the other. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
I
generated some of the most amazing. Uh, Ethereal is not the word I'm looking for, but j- j- just transcendently beautiful works of
uh-huh.
the English language after experiencing hell firsthand.
The interwar period and the post-war period in England, there was something in the water. It
Oh
was
yeah,
unbelievable. It was unbelievable the amount of quality works that they churned out that could impact especially young men. But all right, so yeah, no joke. Winnie the Pooh is the first one, and then
okay.
the second one. So it's an interesting one in that like we can overanalyze it and say, oh, he was fighting for the gay, and oh, I was going to make a comment, but I'm going to stop myself on that comment because we are live on YouTube. But there's a book called With the Old Breed. I guess I'm going back into recruiting mode,
Eugene
but
Sledge.
I don't care if you will never ever be in the military and no one in your family has ever served. You need to read this book, and you need to read about the choices that a young man who could have become an officer, the choices that he made to
Mm-hmm.
not become an officer, and the experiences he went through with the cadre of other men during the island hopping campaign in World War II. This
Oh,
is one of those books that I'm trying to think of other war books that well, okay, I'm not going to say he was the post-war younger, so I won't say that, but like these men who have gone through these experiences, you need to read this book and see what you can gain from it.
that book is like right up there. I entirely endorse that choice. As there's other personal stories about the war in the Pacific. There's other stories out there, but of all the ones that I've read, that is the one that, yeah, it what Eugene Sledge went through and how he perfectly recaptures it, and the confusion and just the utter bafflement at the horror that he encountered with his fellow Marines out there is
Yep.
it is truly something to behold. Absolutely excellent. Recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, the a couple of them that got me, man, he captures looking back 30 years on or whatever it was when he's writing this book. He's able to capture his own personal descent into madness and into becoming a person that he didn't believe he was capable of being.
Right.
And that is, I'm not talking in a positive sense here. And so it is an evaluation of him and of what his life was. So absolutely incredible. Needs to be read more by
Mm-hmm.
men that aren't even going in the military. But
Yeah.
anyways, hey, this was awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Rough start, but I was
Yeah, right.
glad to finally be on a stream, and I'm glad that finally got to be able to talk. Thank you, Mr. Panda.
Oh, absolutely. So I will say on my end, I'm looking like this is by far the most watched stream I've ever done. I mean, we've got dozens of people in here, and apparently there's some lady. There's some lady in here that said it was a very enjoyable listen.
Well,
So
thank you very much, Janelle. Yes.
yes, okay. So Janelle, I hope I hope you had a good listen. Very interesting. All right. Well, sir, you have a good one, and I will see you offline.
Very well. Thank you.